In the cartoon, Barney and Wilma. No, Fred and Wilma. Okay, Fred and Wilma, of course, had Pebbles. Barney and Betty didn't have a kid, and Bam Bam was found on their doorstep. And
okay,
they adopted him.
I did not know that was part of this actual animated story. I thought it was their actual kids.
And they adopted him.
Okay.
So
that's canon?
That's canon.
Flintstones canon.
Flintstones canon. Yes, that is canon.
So just make sure that we're all straight on the Flintstones because I would not want to offend anybody.
All right, so that is canon.
Make sure we're not talking movie universe here or anything.
I think it was like that in the movie too. But so you've got in the comic book that they just released, DC just released 5 issues in. Welcome everybody to episode 11 of the Screaming Boy podcast. We're talking. We'll get to Doctor Strange in a minute, but this is important stuff.
It is absolutely 100% important. We've got to get this straight.
We're talking about the new Flintstones comic that DC has released. I say there's
a significant overlap in Doctor Strange movie fans and Flintstones comic fans.
It's comic books and movies and shut up. And in the book, which Jesse says it's more real, which it is. It has a realistic tone to it. It is more adult oriented, and by that I mean it. There is some minor cursing in it. It is not your yabba dabba doo is not Fred's saying, his catchphrase. Yabba dabba doo is
they don't there's no yabba dabba doo.
There is. But Fred and Barney are veterans of the Bedrock Wars. So they fought in the army to they were coerced to fight in an army against the people of the North. I don't know. I think that's what it was. It was all very.
I've got to know who wrote this.
I can tell you right now, you're not going to recognize his name. They actually just
Steve
did it.
Pugh.
Something Harris. I thought the last guy's his last name was Harris. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. They're veterans of the Bedrock Wars, and so they go to veterans meetings, a support group. And yabba dabba doo is a saying that they all say instead of being at the lodge.
So it's like a Masonic pledge or something.
No, it's a calming effect. It's kind of like woosah.
Oh, from Bad Boys. Okay.
Yeah, so it is like they say it to realign themselves and assure themselves that everything's going to be okay. Because at one point, they're going out to do something and they need their buddy's help, and their buddy's sitting there contemplating suicide.
Yeah, dude. He's suffering from PTSD.
Yeah, and he's going to end it all. And this is the Flintstones, man. And it has an agenda, man. I don't care what anybody says. It has an agenda. It is not. It is, if you want to use the words liberal and conservative, it is not a conservative friendly book in the least.
Well, here's the thing: the guy that wrote it. See, I just listened to the interview that the iFanboy guys did with the writer Mark Russell, and he has under his belt. He don't have very much when it comes to comics. However, he wrote a book about the Bible.
So I was just now looked him up. I was like, you guys should look and see what he's written.
Yes. What is the name of the book? I can't remember.
It's called God is Disappointed in You. And it's a modern retelling of the Bible. And it's apparently for people who like to read the Bible, if it would just cut to the chase. And it said it's stripped of its arcane language and interminable passages. Every book of the Bible is condensed down to its core message in no more than a few pages each.
Wow.
Well, there's also a follow-up to that book about non-canonical Christian and Jewish texts called Apocrypha Now.
Apocrypha Now.
Oh my gosh. So it's pretty much, at first I kind of got into it. It's like, I could read this. And then as it goes along, I don't like, let me put it this way. If it has a political agenda, either side, I'm probably not going to be into it.
Yeah.
Either side, no matter what side I fall on, that has nothing to do with it. I'm not going to get into it because that's somebody's pushing their beliefs on me as I'm reading a freaking comic book.
Well, here's the thing.
And you're talking to I was a fan of Rage Against the Machine in the day.
Ooh, push those boundaries.
No, I'm saying if you're going to get a political band, they're a political band.
They are. They are. One of the crazy things about this is that if you look at who is publishing this book, it's DC. I mean, this is something that you normally don't see come out of, off of DC's press. Usually something this, I mean, can you think of any DC comics that were this politically charged?
Superman.
Sure. All
I'm
right.
kidding.
That's one of the things I think that really took them by surprise when they started reading this book. Plus, they said the book is very subversive and funny, and funny at the same time. I've got to get in here. I've got to get in there and read them. But they mentioned the whole PTSD thing and about how they were going to erect a statue to they thought that this guy was going to get a statue erected in his name, so he's actually going to get his due. And it turns out being a statue of a monkey they sent to space.
Yeah.
Such horrible stuff. But I want to dive into this, and
that's a lot going on in 5 issues.
Yes, it is.
Now,
I felt like
it's weird.
He took all of his issues with everything and slapped me in the face with it. In 5 issues, it was just like
Just to let you know there, Josh, they are on the drive. So at any time, you're more than welcome to check them out.
I might do that.
Yeah, with it being so politically charged, it turned me off, and I probably won't be reading any more of it.
Oh, come on. It's the season of politics.
So it's like politics. It's relevant, like modern politics relevant?
No. Not really.
So it's like, is it like tinged in like Vietnam politics?
It's just politics. I mean, it's just like his beliefs on everything.
Political agenda.
Oh, okay.
It's like, you need to believe this because I do, and I'm right. You're an idiot if you don't.
I can't say
that's the way it comes off.
I can't. Okay, now that's Ronnie's opinion. I can't say that I've read it to give an opinion.
Right.
But maybe
So
I don't know if it's
shut up.
Of course, I don't know if the guys that on iFanboy didn't push that like it was really over the top. So I'm surprised that when I read it, if I will get that same opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out though.
Okay, so I really believe that because let me put it this way. Whether he believes in God or not, I don't know the man. But it felt like with his views on organized religion that came out in the book, he was calling everybody that believed in God or followed an organized religion an idiot.
Okay.
Because of the things that were said in the book and the things that, how it was written. And it just felt like, I don't think anybody should be
called an idiot.
Called an idiot, just especially through a comic book. I mean, it is too in your face. It is way too politically charged, and it is.
It's the Flintstones.
It's the freaking Flintstones, man. I mean,
so my counter argument is, and this is really just devil's advocate, but my counter argument is that I don't think anything should ever be censored regardless.
No, I don't think he should be censored, but also don't think he should try to censor others. And I feel like that's what he's doing.
But that's a form of censorship. You know, we say censorship in the modern lexicon like redacted, like blocked off, completely redacted.
Right.
But the preference for some sort of limitation is also a form of censorship.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's a counter argument.
No,
potential counter argument.
I get it. I do. I mean,
I think that art. Here's the thing. If he hadn't had that aspect, you would not have as much interest in talking about it like you are right now.
True.
And I think that's the best part of art. Whether you like it, whether it pisses you off to no end, or it makes you uncomfortable, like that's the stuff that makes art.
I get it. Now, I wouldn't have really talked about it that much until I found out until I read that one of his buddies was contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
It's just, they need it. I mean, this is not a comic book for kids. And this was, the Flintstones at its core is a kid's show, comic book, whatever, movie.
Yeah, I think that's the weirdest.
Weird spin on it.
Like I can see modernizing it, but wow, it's a little intense.
Yeah, it's very intense.
When they talked to him, they said, "Hey, we want you to do the Flintstones." Now, just from what you read, Ronnie, could you see this guy saying, "Oh, absolutely, give me a shot. I want to take the Flintstones on, and I'll take it to a different level." He was like, "No." He says from what he remembered of the cartoon was like it was pretty sexist, even though it was funny. Of course, the cartoons came out when 60s.
60s, man.
Yeah. So
yeah, dude, that was the height of sexism and racism.
Yeah, I mean
you
can find cigarette ads.
Yeah, Fred Flintstone was in a Winston cigarette ads.
Yeah,
or a cigarette ad.
So they came to him and I guess whoever it was, that whether it was Dan DiDio or whoever in DC Comics, came to him and proposed that to him, and he said no, I wouldn't be interested in it. The guy's like, well, that's perfect, because that way we don't have the same old. And so
I think they came to him and said, hey, you have to do this, and he's like,
all right,
fine, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it my way. And
I'm going to bomb this into the ground.
Right. And that's what it feels like.
And it's become
one of the he's forced to do this.
It has become one of the most critically acclaimed comic books out on the market today.
Is it really?
It's, buddy, they have. I look to iFanboy. I know I'm talking about
on this. I've never even heard of
it. I swear, dude, they have picked this as the pick of the week like 3 or 4 times running here in the weeks when the issue's released. So
it'll be interesting to see if it lasts, or if it's like if it's just getting all the acclaim for shock value right now.
Yeah, I could see that.
I really think that it's getting its acclaim for shock value. Because nobody's ever really seen anything like this, especially out of the Flintstones, where we were talking about Bam Bam, Barney and Betty, they couldn't conceive kids, and in this one, I mean, like, they never said they could not conceive kids, of course, in the show, because it's a kid's show. They just found him and they adopted him. In this one, they're like, he feels like less of a man because he can't conceive a kid, and that's why he joined the army. And then,
okay.
And then, yeah, exactly, dude.
They go to war. They go to war with the tree people.
The tree people. That's what it is.
The 5th issue.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where he finds Bam Bam and pretty much adopts him.
Bam Bam was a tree person, and he found Bam Bam laying in the woods, and he grabbed him and took him home, and they adopted him. And it's it's really weird, man. I'm like, no, this is not Fred and Barney.
That sounds like a story idea that, like, you would say you'd go out to 4 potential writers as a publisher and be like, pitch us your idea, and like, this is one of the 4, and the editors are reading through like, that's an interesting concept, but whoa.
Could you imagine? I don't understand how the people who are licensing this to DC are looking at this and saying, okay, yeah, keep going. I mean, I imagine they've got to be like catching.
Flintstones' time is over, though. Like, that's nobody cares about the Flintstones as they were anymore.
Well,
like, what are you going to do? You going to write old time Flintstone stories for like a modern audience? Nobody cares about that garbage.
I would have saw this comic book sitting on a rack, and there's no way I would have paid attention to it, at all.
I would have surely, just for the art, because
yeah.
Yeah, Barney and Fred are no longer,
awesome.
no longer the all neck, or no neck or whatever, just a cylinder body. They look like cavemen. They're muscular. They're
So if you Google Flintstones comic and click the first thing on images, it's just a 2-panel thing where I guess they're working in the mines or whatever, those rock mines.
Yeah.
And somebody asks Fred, "Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Sure." And he says, "How come you wear a tie?" And he's like, "I read an article once that said you should dress for the job you want, not the job you have." And the other guy's like, "So how long have you been wearing that tie?" And it goes back to him, and it's just him on one panel. He's looking all like bitter, and it just says 15 years.
yeah, man, exactly. It's just,
That's awesome.
And also, the guys that are new recruits to the quarry, the rock quarry, and they hired Neanderthals to work in the rock quarry because they're idiots and they work, they're hard workers. They don't think about being paid and everything. They don't want money. They just, they know that they can get them to work for peanuts because they're stupid. And I'm like, well, who's that supposed to represent? And so anyway, enough with the Flintstones.
What I love about
who is that supposed to represent?
What I love about
blue
it is
collar America. I don't know.
I asked Ronnie and the guys in the group. I said, "You guys ought to check this comic book out." Ronnie says, "Okay, I'll check it out." Marsh comes back with a comment. Ronnie has read all 4 issues, and at first Ronnie's like, "I wouldn't mind talking about it," and then when he gets done with all 4 issues, he's like, "I don't want to talk about this." I'm like, all right. Well,
I'll read through those then, because that sounds like I like if it were a 10-issue run or something, I'd be like, I don't know. Like if you only got like 4 or 5, I'll read through 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, that's all I got on there right now. And
that's all they've released is 5, I think.
Yeah. Do they feel standalone? Did you say there was a continuity there, Ronnie?
There's a timeline there. There's a continuity, but there's no. It's not like you have to read. You can pick it up whenever.
Yeah.
So let's get down to the matter at hand.
Well, first, let me thank you, Ronnie, for talking about it with me. I love hearing your opinion on it, man.
Oh man,
we can move on to the big story at hand.
I get fired up too easy about that stuff. But the big story at hand, the main reason why we're here and why Adam Runyon is missing right now
is tomorrow's the election.
Shut your mouth!
I'm so excited to talk about the election with you guys.
No,
we're talking about Doctor Strange. We're not talking about Hillary or Trump or. Yeah.
We got to fit as much escapism in here as possible up until like the end hour.
I was tricked into this.
Guess what?
Come on, talk about the election, Josh. Come on, man. I
wouldn't have even responded. Like, you wouldn't even gotten a no from me. It would have just been like dead air.
Ignored.
Unfriended.
I've been friends with you for 15 plus years, Josh. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's over. Anyway, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange. It is the most recent Marvel property that has hit the big screen. And to say that I was excited about this, it was an understatement because, frankly, I get excited about anything that Marvel releases. Now, I'm somewhat familiar with Doctor Strange. I'm more familiar with him as we've said this. We've talked a little bit about this on source material on the Oath when we talked about the Oath. Mm-hmm. I'm more familiar with him when he's a secondary character, like in the Avengers or anything like that. I've only got read a few storylines, a few books where he is the main character, and some of them are with the Infinity Gauntlet and a couple of books like that. So now I want to get your all. I've heard your all's reactions. I know that all 3 of us weren't super familiar with Doctor Strange. As far as the comic book character, when we were reading the Oath. Am I right in saying that? If I remember correctly, Josh and Jesse. We'll go with Josh first.
Yeah, for the most part. And then beyond that, really, I've just been reading the current the current Doctor Strange ongoing written by Jason Aaron, but it's up to like issue 13. So I've read all those, but and
it's been good so far, correct?
Yeah, it's been super good. Like, it's probably been maybe my second or third favorite book by Marvel so far, behind Vision.
Dang, that's awesome. Even Squirrel Girl and Howard the Duck.
Yeah, it's hard to compare, because
it's
those
completely different tones.
Yeah, just super different tone. I'd say as far as like just straightforward, I guess mainstream Marvel superhero book with like that current modern serious tone.
Yeah,
it's probably number 2 behind Vision.
Cool.
Which I don't know if that counts anymore because Vision's over.
No.
Did you read the final issue?
Oh, man, you know what? I've got a stack of
That's a no.
Well, I usually don't. I usually don't buy, but like once every a month and a half. 5, 6, 7. So I have 8 books still to go read through, but Vision's one of them. And so what I do, whenever I have like a stack of like 10 or 15 books or something like that to buy at once, like I shuffle, I organize them to where ones that I really want to read are at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so
I do the exact same
that
thing.
that way the books that I want to read the most are the last ones that I read. That way I don't read all the good stuff first, and then the stuff that I'm not really sure or really looking forward to yet just kind of sits there for weeks.
Yeah.
So I haven't got to it yet is the long answer to that.
No, I do the same thing when I buy. I save the ones I'm really, really looking forward to, and I'm invested in the storyline. The Walking Dead. I save it usually till last, or Civil War 2. I save it till last because
I've got Civil War at the bottom with Vision also.
Yeah. So it's I do the same thing, and then if I picked up a random book or bought a random book, I usually shuffle through it first. What about you? Yeah, Jesse, you weren't super familiar with the character of Doctor Strange either, were you?
No, when we were talking on source material, I think my answer to you was that, or I mirrored pretty much what your familiarity was, where Silver Surfer crashes through the top of the Sanctum Sanctorum to try and get to Doctor Strange, and that's where I was like, oh, who is this guy? Never followed anything in the past prior to that. It's not like I've made an effort to go back and grab any old stories. When we discussed The Oath, I think that was probably the first ever full-fledged Doctor Strange story I ever read. So it's very little knowledge other than I knew that he was a Sorcerer Supreme. He was a background character in the Marvel Universe that I didn't know a whole lot about.
Okay. Yeah, but we know of him, and we know that he's a Sorcerer Supreme, that he's the magic wielder of the Marvel Universe. It is it's really cool to think about it because when we look back and we look at all the magic users of the Marvel Universe, we got Brother Voodoo and Doctor Doom, Damon Hellstrom, Scarlet Witch. We've got all these heavy hitters, but he's the one that they all go to, or not they all go to, but they're the ones that he's the bar that is set. That everybody, if you think about magic, they go to him first, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, wait a minute, this one, he dabbles in it too, or he's, I believe Dr. Voodoo is probably about the last one. Everybody goes, "Oh yeah," or Brother Voodoo, I should say. Mm-hmm. Brother Voodoo is like, "Oh yeah, he's around. I guess we can go see him." And then they've got, they used to have Dr. Druid is who I was thinking of, and they're like, well, he kind of does, but he's there, so we might go say hi. But he is the Sorcerer Supreme. So Marvel had released, when they said, "Oh, Josh, what were your initial thoughts when you heard that they were coming out with a Doctor Strange movie?"
I was kind of similar to what I thought about Guardians of the Galaxy when I first heard about it. I was like, that seems like a little bit of a risk because this is a whole completely separate aspect of the Marvel Universe. Like, this isn't This isn't like Hulk smashing stuff and Iron Man flying around and Spider-Man. Well, I mean, I guess that's not really the MCU, but I mean, it's just not the same. Like, he doesn't deal with any of the issues or topics or villains or problems that any of those mainstream type of heroes really deals with. And I was curious to see how they were going to approach like the interdimensionality, the interplanular, just all the weird bizarreness that he usually deals with. Because you open up a Doctor Strange, like this, the ongoing that's going on now, you open it up and you're like, this is bizarre.
Right.
Yeah, metaphysical wise, you don't see that in hardly any Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
No,
I mean, it's all entrenched in reality.
Well, even the when they
The physical,
talk about the physical, when they introduced Thor and the Asgardians and everything, they weren't actually, in the comic books they treat him as the Norse gods.
Mm-hmm.
They are the Norse gods. He is the god of thunder. He is, Odin is the All-Father. Well, in this, if I'm not mistaken, what I gleaned from it was that they aren't the gods of Norse mythology. They are just beings from another dimension that happen to have these traits. And when they visited Earth, people saw them and said, "Oh, you must be the gods that whatever." Even their magic isn't really magic. It's so much. It's just interdimensional energies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing that that I took from the movie as well.
That's you mentioned that. I totally missed that. When were they explaining that in the movie?
When the Ancient One, Tilda Swinton, was explaining everything to him.
Okay.
Taking him on that big old trippy ride through the dimensions.
Like the next day after the movie released, some notification popped up from somebody I follow on Periscope, which, by the way, I still have on my phone. And I get notifications freaking daily. But anyway, somebody pops up on there and says, "That Odin theory, though." And I'm like, what did I miss? Because I knew he had to have been talking about it.
I missed that.
I missed it. So
she's talking about it, and she says that their sorcery, their magic, they harness interdimensional energies, and they turn them into spells. And the way they open up different rifts and the dimensions and the space-time continuum and everything, and so that's how they make things happen. So it isn't actual magic. It's they're harnessing those energies.
I don't think I'd ever really connected that to the Norse side of the Marvel, though. At the time, at least.
Yeah,
I can tell you that go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, but they do kind of. If you could possibly tie that back to some of the stuff they say in the Thor movies, though, because what's her name, Jane, when she gets there, she's all asking all those science questions. She's like, "Oh, well, so you just do this and this," like the scientific terms for what they're doing. And they're like, "No, we call it this," and she's like, "Yeah, but that's actually just these molecules doing this."
Right.
So so what you're saying is the theory is that the Norse gods' magic powers, etc., are just a higher level of
Science.
Basically technology and science that we can't even really fathom yet.
Correct.
That makes way more sense than them being gods.
Right.
I think one of the hardest selling points on this movie for me going into it was, how are they going to explain, how are they going to make me understand and respect magic as part of this movie, and not try and not make it so I can't figure it out. I thought that was probably one of the things I thought was going to make me not like this movie, but right. They did a fine job, in my opinion, on keeping me interested, not bogging me down with so much crap that I was like, I don't like this explanation. I don't know if it's because I suspended my disbelief at some point, or if their explanation of it was just fine. I missed the part about the whole Norse, tying the Norse with that, but
they didn't mention the Norse gods in it. They just mentioned, the dimensional energies, and she mentions the multiverse and
gotcha.
And all, yeah.
Okay.
So
and now that I figured, I enjoyed that. That didn't, that perfectly made me perfectly happy.
I was super pumped whenever they used the word multiverse, though.
I was like,
yeah,
wow,
I was too.
That's pretty bold. I mean, that's opening up a whole. And this, if they're going to do some sort of multiverse type aspect to the cinematic universe, like this is the right storyline to introduce it in.
Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Stephen Strange a little bit. Stephen Strange is, of course, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and they seem to get it right every single time. Every single time they cast an actor in a role, they nail it on the head. And I truly believe that with Cumberbatch. I wasn't super familiar with everything he's done. Of course, I know him as Sherlock,
Khan,
as Khan, and as Smaug. But
was he Khan in the new Star Trek movies?
Sure was.
Yes,
those movies are awful.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's
it's all right.
And that is how I know him from. I don't watch any Sherlock. Never watched any of it. I know he's, but I know him mostly from Khan. I don't know of any other, mostly from Star Trek Into Darkness. I don't know of any other movies
Sherlock
that he's
super good.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people rave about that show.
I've only seen a few of them, but like each episode's like a movie. Like each episode's like an hour and a half long or 2 hours long or something like
that. Either of you have his filmography or anything in front of you? I'll pull it up if you don't. I'll go ahead and pull it up. You go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. Basically, I was just going to gush over him and how good he was in the role.
So I can kill time here real quick. So the funny thing, so for some reason, my wife has this super weird thing with Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's not what most women have with Benedict Cumberbatch. Like she does not get it. Like she's like, he weirds me out. His face weirds me out.
He is a creepy looking dude.
She's always said that. She's like, his face weirds me out. And I there's nothing that he's been in where she was like, I really want to see that. And then the trailer, like I was like, they announced that he was going to be Doctor Strange. I was like, this is going to be interesting because she loves the comic book movies, and like bottom line is we were going to go, so like I was like, here's something funny. I was like, guess who's playing Doctor Strange in this new Marvel movie? And I was like, it's Benedict Cumberbatch. And she's like, damn it. And then like that first trailer came out, and I was like, wow, like this is. Okay, so they're going to do this pretty well. And I showed her the trailer. She's like, okay. I'll watch the next couple trailers and then we'll see. And then, the second, the third, or however many there were that came out, the second one came out. She's like, okay, yeah, we'll definitely go see that. That looks pretty cool. So it got her over her bizarre.
She got your aversion to
Mr.
Cumberbatch.
So now the next test, we'll try to get over her Phil Collins aversion, which. We'll leave that at that. I don't think that's. I
wonder how that's going to
happen.
I don't. Yeah, no, it is never going to happen. That is just the bottom line.
So, okay, filmography wise, there's nothing on here that I recognize. Well, I shouldn't say that because I do recognize some of the movies, such as Zoolander 2. I don't know what the hell was going on there, and of course, you mentioned The Desolation of Smaug.
Yeah,
that's his voice, though, right? Obviously, he's the dragon, correct?
They did motion capture on his face for Smaug.
Have you seen the video of him doing the motion capture on that? Though?
It is super weird.
Like it's a full like he's crawling around and stuff, and it's actually super impressive.
Oh wow!
Black
mask.
Like
he's completely dressed in the motion capture stuff.
Oh yeah,
like a huge green, like a really big green room, and like. He's on not even hands and knees, but he's like crawling around like a spider on his feet and his hands, like in full, like it's a full body action. Like it's actually really interesting to hear and see how he got that voice, and like that's what he wanted to do, or how they directed him to do that.
Wow.
Hey, Adam Runyon.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Next time you're in here for 20 minutes, and you need to speak up.
Now I saw his avatar down there, like seriously, 15 minutes ago, and I was like, nah, that can't be him. He's just
I even changed my picture to Donald Trump when y'all were talking about Donald Trump. I thought, my God, what did I walk in on? but yeah, so let me just interject about Benedict Cumberbatch for just a second,
please.
He's probably right now.
He's
probably my favorite actor right now, because I mean he's one of those actors that he's just so dedicated to what he does. Every single role, what he does is phenomenal. Like he was in The Imitation Game, and The Imitation Game is about one of my favorite characters in history. And I'm trying to remember his name. I'm Well, I'm
sorry.
Typing
that was obnoxious, and I apologize.
Alan Turing,
right?
The Turing test.
Yeah, and basically, The Imitation Game is about how he came up and he defeated the Enigma machine, the German Enigma machine, with what we would equate to computer science. He basically is the inventor of computer science.
What was the Enigma machine? That was a code thing, right? Or
basically they were between it was cryptography, and there were like transmissions between German U-boats and their headquarters, and while we were getting them, we had no idea what they were. He was the guy who found the he took computers, mechanical computers. So basically, if you go back and you look, and there's the Turing machine, and it's a gigantic wall-sized piece of like gears. It looks like a gigantic Rolex machine, and each one of these different gears will turn, and when one turns, another will turn. It just computes these numbers so quickly, and it can figure out what they're saying as we're getting the as the British are intercepting the German transmissions between headquarters and their U-boats. They are able to decipher what's going to happen, and it basically changed the tide of World War II to where they had, it was like a great equalizer. He basically saved the world from German invasions.
One other super interesting fact about Alan Turing is that he was homosexual, and that's not the interesting fact, but like the piece is, well, no, like, so he had this like literally world changing discovery in computer science, and something that really was key in defeating the Nazis. And then in 1952, he started a relationship with another man, and it was illegal at the time, and he was convicted, and he was basically like chemically castrated.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
That's what this movie's about. Is that he did this? He basically, I would say that he saved the modern world from German invasion, and they relegated his entire existence down to that one simple fact, and I hated it.
Oh,
to me,
sad.
That's one of those things, and it's like they couldn't overlook that. You know what I mean? They like in the very beginning of the movie, because he's kind of like every other tortured genius. He's very OCD about things, but he's such a jerk to people because he just operates on a completely different level. And he's just so much smarter than everybody. Alan Turing, not Benedict Cumberbatch, but he's just so much smarter than everybody else, and he just operated, and they couldn't get past the fact that he was a homosexual, and they just couldn't see that. And then later on, he gets posthumously recognized and things like that. But it's such a good movie. If you ever get a chance, it's kind of slow moving.
I hate to interrupt you, but let's get back to Doctor Strange.
Anyway. When you said that they hit the nail on the head with this one, Ronnie, I 100% agree with the casting choice of Benedict Cumberbatch, and I was so excited when they said that he was going to be Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange for me was I have the cartoon, like the cartoon movie, and it depicts Doctor Strange as he's already Doctor Strange, and he kind of fights the Mandarin, and it kind of really concentrates on the Mandarin more than anything. But when it came out, like an origin story of Doctor Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch was in it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so awesome. And it was fantastic.
Had you read anything with Doctor Strange in it beforehand?
No, I've never read anything. I saw him as a secondary character, like you said, as a kind of a mentor to all the magic wielding characters. But as a main character, no, not at all.
Okay. So let's take a look at, Doctor Strange, before he was the Sorcerer Supreme, he was a surgeon. He was a world-class surgeon who basically, before he was a sorcerer, he created, he made magic with his hands another way. He was a gifted, skilled surgeon. But he had kind of a God complex, like, they blame on doctors a lot. Some doctors do get that he didn't want to mess with anybody he didn't deem worthy of his talents.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost, the way he put it, though, it almost made sense. So they didn't make him a completely irredeemable character in the beginning. Because he would look at somebody, he would say, no, they're beyond help, so why should I try to help them? Now, that made him a D-bag, because no matter what, he should try to help them, because honestly, he was in it for the glory and the fame and the money.
Mm-hmm.
But it almost made sense. It's like, well, why waste your time? So it was kind of a catch-22 for anybody watching it, and for me at least, and for the character, because I hate to say it, but what he said made complete sense. His legs, his back, his whatever was beyond repair. So, but you get a look at his apartment and the cars and the piano that he probably never played.
Mm-hmm.
And the awards they had, you just saw, all you saw was money, the watches.
He was clearly doing it all for status.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that really came out was what I noticed was when he was trying to pick out what watch he wanted to wear, and the case came up and spun all of his watches around.
Yeah, all the watches were spinning. I was like, "Oh, that's unnecessary."
Well, look at that. That's that case probably costs more than my house. So while you looked at him, you were like, "Man, he needs to be knocked down a few pegs." You understood why he was the way he was, because he was so good. And useless knowledge, he amongst aside from being brilliant. When he was in surgery, he could perform surgery with, like most surgeons and doctors do. They have music playing to relax him, but he would play guessing games. They would try to stump him while he was performing surgery. They would try to stump him with music. They would try to play a song, and he would have to, guess who sang it, who performed it, and what year it came out. And he was always right, always right. So he was kind of the character that you love to hate. You're like, oh gosh, he's so good, but man, I want to punch him in the mouth.
Yeah.
He reminded me of Dr. House, if you remember that.
He is a much more relatable House.
Yeah.
He was kind of a
I'd
jerk
agree with
to
that.
everybody, but he just, he was brilliant at what he did.
Yeah,
Reminded me
absolutely.
a lot of that.
So we have Doctor Strange, and he's on his way to give a speech, and he gets in his, I don't even know what kind of car that was. It's an incredible car, and it has
fast car.
a push button
I want a
gear
fast
shift.
car. Sorry.
Oh Lord! Push button gear shift. And as he's driving, he's on the phone, and he receives a call about all these what's it called? Possible patients. And the reason I bring this up is because, did you all notice the first, or one of the patients on there, and it said 35-year-old Air Force colonel with a compressed spine due to an accident.
Yeah, it was totally roadie.
was not Rhodey.
Who was it?
They said he was in armor.
Right. He was not Rhodey because this happened before Rhodey got that whole scene. If you notice, he trained underneath the Ancient One for years, for a certain amount of time before it came up to who he is now. So Rhodey, the Civil War was happening about the same time as, he was completing his training.
Oh.
So one would lead to believe that was one of Justin Hammer's pilots, when they were trying to do his version of the armor. You remember the one that bent over backwards and the guy screamed? Yeah. So everybody thought it was Rhodey, which I did too at first. I was like, oh man, that's Rhodey. That's Rhodey. No, it was one of those guys.
Weird.
So yeah, it was really weird. So gets into an accident, crushes his hands, can no longer perform surgery. Now, as you can see, he goes through endless pain. He blames everybody but himself. He doesn't take his injuries in stride. His hands are completely useless. He has to rehab them back to where he can actually write his own name. So modern medicine fails him. So he goes to Kathmandu, and he goes to the Don't you dare either. He goes to the Far East to find a more, metaphysical way to heal his hands, a more spiritual way to heal his hands. And from there, he finds the Ancient One. He kind of rejects her at first, and then, he becomes the Ancient One's student. So with that, the Ancient One in the books is an old Asian man with a long Fu Manchu mustache is what I can remember, I think. And the Ancient One is not at all what I imagined, what they brought to life on the screen. So they got Tilda Swinton, who's been in numerous things. She's a wonderful actress.
I've seen her before in a lot of stuff.
So she has been
creepy real well.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, she does creepy very, very well. But she's been in Chronicles of Narnia. She was just recently in Hail Caesar. Unfortunately, she was in Trainwreck. That had Bill Hader, but most unfortunately had Amy Schumer. I'm trying Snowpiercer.
Constantine, wasn't she?
And she played Gabriel, I think, in Constantine.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm. So she's been in a lot of stuff, and she's a wonderful actress. But she's not who I would have chosen for the Ancient One. But when she got into it, man, I think she did a fantastic job. I mean, I thought she was really, we'll start with Josh. Josh, what did you think of her performance as the Ancient One?
I thought she was awesome. I think I have no real connection to the origin story and understanding of who the Ancient One originally looked like. But I think something that's interesting is that with this latest phase, or whatever Marvel's calling them now,
Phase 3,
is that they're taking some of the regularly established characters and changing their sex or changing their race or changing something about them, but they're keeping the key core aspects of the character, which is really somewhat similar to what they're doing with the comics now too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're diversifying the characters while keeping the primary character traits or a tie to this new person carrying on that previous individual's mantle. There's some sort of connection between the two. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I was sitting there watching the movie. I was like, you know what? They're doing this with Iron Man right now. They're doing this with Captain America. They're doing this with all these other characters in the comics. Mm-hmm. And I've always been of the opinion that, you know what? Like we've got 50, 60, 70 years with these characters, and let's try something new. And in the movies, I'm of the opinion that as long as they have the same character traits and motivations and origins and personalities, like who cares? They did the same thing with Mordo in this movie.
Yeah. I can agree to that to a certain point. There are sometimes that I would rather leave well enough alone. Captain America I can get behind because Captain America they've done more with Steve Rogers than they have in a long time. Steve Rogers is Steve Rogers. He's the all-American hero. He is, blonde hair, blue-eyed Superman, all-American boy. That's who he is. That's who he needs to stay, in my opinion, with Captain America. Now, when he lost the super soldier serum and he aged 900 years and then fought along the side of Deadpool for a while, I was like, that's okay. I mean, this is fun, because they had fun with the character, and that's something that you don't really get to do with Captain America. Mm-hmm. And so they made Sam Wilson Captain America, which is the Falcon. So I'm not a big fan of that Captain America. I don't care that they made him Captain America. Doesn't bother me. But I'm glad that they gave Steve Rogers the Captain America mantle back and gave him a different shield. I still think that they need to trade shields. I'm just, kind of a traditionalist when it comes to certain characters, and Captain America would be one of them. The Hulk is the other. I don't care that they've switched up the Hulk. They've been doing it for years. Red Hulk, She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk, green, gray, purple, whatever Hulks. Hulks everywhere. I just don't think Amadeus Cho is a good choice for to take up the Hulk mantle after Bruce Banner. I just don't like the character, but that's just me. So they definitely turned they turned the character of the Ancient One kind of around. They kept it true to who he is, and but they made him a her, which is no big deal in my opinion.
Nah, Tilda did a fine job, and again, me going into this movie having little to no knowledge of what the Ancient One looked like, I'm pretty much right there with Josh. I go into this, and she served a fine purpose to tell that part of the story.
Absolutely.
There was no complaints from me, and I think she did a fine job. I would have, I would have really questioned Marvel if it would have been somebody like, I don't know.
Christopher Walken.
I don't know. I might be able to take
lazy.
that.
You can't really put Christopher Walken in the role, any role for Marvel.
Who was the girl that played Queen Amidala?
Natalie Portman.
Well, she's already in 4 movies, so we can't count her. But I mean, I couldn't see it being some young girl. That would it'd be strange. But anyway,
you can't put Keira Knightley in there and say,
exactly.
"Oh, she's the Ancient One." No, it was Tilda Swinton. She's got the chops. She's got the acting part down. She carries herself very well. She commands attention from the camera, and she commands attention from the audience. So therefore, she commanded attention from the other characters.
Yeah, get a real Orpheus.
Morpheus.
Morpheus is something.
Be careful. Be careful.
Morpheus from Matrix vibe. That's kind of the thing I got from that.
So, and that was my next question. When I saw her do something and then do a martial arts, push to the chest and push him, out of his body. Astral form into the astral plane. Mm-hmm. I was like, crap. This is going to be like a Matrix kind of knockoff thing, with martial arts and everything. Little did I know after I did my research that, and then after the oath, Doctor Strange knows his martial arts, man. Mm-hmm. That was a part of his training. That all came in when he was training to be Sorcerer Supreme. When he was training in the use of magic. I was not aware of that because it's not something that comes up in his books that often. And then it just completely made sense, and that was a really cool scene though. To me, I had fears when I first saw it, and I first saw her. Crap, this is going to be like a Matrix kind of style thing. It really wasn't. After they start training and she shows him his astral form, she takes him on a trip, throughout all these multiverses, all this different, all these things that are going on. And I'm so glad I didn't see it in 3D because that would have made me throw up.
Oh, yeah. Josh, didn't you go see it in 3D?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how was that scene in 3D?
It was awesome. I mean, it was. I've never liked 3D, but just because the movies that have 3D felt like the 3D scenes were forcefully added, like some character reaching out to you, like it's just forced and dumb. But it worked real well with this movie. I thought, like all the effects and everything, like it worked well. They were going to do that regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have any moment. Like if there was a moment during the film where it was going to like bother me physically, that was going to be it, and I didn't get that.
Okay.
It was really cool though.
The best, the best movie I've ever seen in 3D was Avatar. The worst was probably Transformers.
That's the first. Transformers is the first movie I ever saw in 3D, and I was blown away.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. So the whole overall feel of the movie, it was just incredible because it's an origin story, but you still had a lot of action in it. I mean, this had more action than some of the other Marvel movies. I would say it had a little more action than say Ant-Man. We'll compare it to Ant-Man because people are more familiar. They may not know who Doctor Strange is. And I know a lot of people didn't have a clue who Ant-Man was, especially with the character that they chose. I guess you could say what word am I looking for? The alter ego that they chose of Ant-Man. It's not. Everybody's name is leaving me, and I hate it. It's not Pym. It's not Hank Pym. It's
Scott Lang.
So, and everybody, and I can say, well, I've heard of Ant-Man, but who the crap is Scott Lang? I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So nobody really knew knew about Ant-Man going in. And I felt the same way with Doctor Strange. Nobody really knows who Doctor Strange is. They mentioned him briefly. They mentioned his name briefly in Captain America: Winter Soldier. He was on a watch list of important or of people that they need to look out for. They briefly mentioned Stephen Strange, so it was one of those things where I was a little afraid that it would not get the attention that it deserved, but man, it's made $85 million so far at the box office.
Nice.
That was the last time I checked, it had made $85 million. So
how does that compare to the other ones?
It's one of the highest grossing ones, I think.
Really? I thought they were all like 9-digit opening weekends, or maybe I don't follow the revenue stuff.
I think maybe the group ones like Captain America: Civil War, Avengers Age of Ultron. To my knowledge, I think they were the higher ones, but I think this is, it's being lauded as one of the best Marvel movies that have been out there that they've made so far.
Huh. It's already made half of what Ant-Man made total.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the U.S. and Canada. Sorry.
So, overall, with it being an origin story and with the action, of course, he gets into it with I can't pronounce his name right now. The main villain.
The guy that's working for Dormammu.
Yeah, Dormammu is the main villain, but you've got Caecilius. Caecilius is the guy that who has turned against the ways of the Ancient One. The sorcerers that they're training, and he has aligned himself with Dormammu, who is this. We know him as a demon. If you've read the comic books of the Dark Realm, and he's promising them eternal life, but really it's all a lie that he's going to turn against them and everything. So these guys have been lied to, and they've turned around, and they are trying to destroy the Ancient One and all the sanctums that the 3 sanctums that they have around the world: New York, Hong Kong, and the third one is in London. And they have created a magical barrier around the world around Earth to keep it from, keep these forces from coming in. So their whole point is to blow these, to destroy them, to blow these sanctums up, so Dormammu can come in to our dimension and take over. So, being a comic book fan, I instantly looked into them. Did my research on them, and they actually are kind of an amalgamation of several different characters. One of them being the mindless ones, and if you know anything about the mindless ones, that's exactly what they are. They don't stop until they have completed the task that their master has given them. They don't have a mind of their own. They don't. They don't eat, sleep, breathe. They just keep fighting until it's over, and they're absolutely terrifying to think about. They're silly to look at in the comic books, but they're terrifying to think about because they're these just hulking beasts with one eye.
They just look like lava men.
Yeah, that's basically it. And so they kind of mashed those so several characters together, them being one, and created these acolytes of Dormammu. So we have them as our main, really our main ones that our main antagonists that Doctor Strange is going against. And so they tap into this dark power, this dark sorcery, so they can change the world around them, because the one rule that these sorcerers have is they can't change the physical world around them. They can go into the mirror dimension and change everything about it. They can do whatever they want, but they can't do that on the outside world.
Man, that mirror dimension
was incredible. So you've got this almost Inception-like, the movie Inception. They've got this almost Inception-like scene where they're turning buildings upside down. They're folding the world into itself, and they have to run, from, they're fighting each other, and they have to run away, and it's all in the mirror dimension. So when they go back, the world is exactly like they left it. So it is an incredible, like the special effects on this were so amazing. And it really dove deep into who in the comic books who you don't realize that Doctor Strange is, that he has access to all this power. He has access to all these different dimensions. He can open up portals. He can open up, he can access all this energy from these dimensions. And in the movies and then in the books, he is the Sorcerer Supreme. He can do all this. And we just see him as kind of this D-bag doctor that happened to cross, that happened to be in the right place at the right time. That's always how I've seen him. And that's how, kind of, he's been a cool character, but, I never really understood him. But he truly is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. And I just, this movie, I don't know about you all, and I'll put this question out to you, or the same question. This movie really made me gave me bigger respect for the character of Doctor Strange, as well as reading The Oath. Gave me a deeper understanding of who Doctor Strange really is. And some of the more recent storylines in like Civil War and different books have given me a deeper understanding of who he is and what he can actually do. Did this do the same for you guys, Jesse?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, he can't beat, dude. I didn't really kind of piggyback off of Josh there earlier, when he was talking about what was our anticipation for this movie. I will tell you that there's been a few movies that Marvel has promoted that I was like, grab the tombstone because it's time, or grab the skis because it's time to jump the shark.
Oh, wow, really?
Well, Guardians of the Galaxy was one. I was like, whatever. There's no way that we're going to pull in anything like what these other movies have been doing, and how is anybody going to be able to be interested in a story about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Give me a break. And it is quite possible. I know it's top 3 for me when it comes to Marvel Universe movies. So they now, and Ant-Man was up there as well. So they have a track record of taking properties that I have no interest in and making a great film. So Doctor Strange, yet again, another one of those that I was like, whatever. There's no way I'm going to be interested in this. Now, Ronnie, we're not going to, I'm not going to jump and ruin the climax or anything here. I want to obviously let you get to the point when we talk about the end of the movie. But you know my feelings on that plot aspect in any movie when we get to it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But as for Doctor Strange himself, I don't want to avoid your question or anything. As a character, this guy, they tell the origin story great, and they show his, he's got that latent ability. As a matter of fact, one of the guys I'd love to talk about here is Mordo. His friend and learning companion throughout this Baron Mordo, or what's his name, Carl Mordo or something. I just saw.
They just call him Mordo, really.
Mordo, okay.
Yeah.
So
but he'll be Baron Mordo.
Yeah, right. Dude, that actor right there.
Oh, he's incredible.
First time I ever seen him was in Serenity. Is that the name of the movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. That was the first time I'd ever seen him, and I was as a villain in that movie. Oh my gosh, blew me away.
Mm-hmm. He another one that commands an audience that just says, "Hey, you need to pay attention to me."
This guy did a great job and setting up him as a potential villain at some point. You don't get that throughout this whole movie up until near the end, maybe if that at the very end. But yeah, as for this whole universe, Doctor Strange included, I come out of the movie going, man, these guys are going to be fun to watch interact with our physical compatriots that we were talking about earlier with Iron Man. What's Iron Man going to do when he sees Doctor Strange open up a teleportation? He's seen a little bit of that with Thor, but
he's seen it with Thor and the Scarlet Witch. But
when this all comes together at the end, it's going to be so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's really cool that they've put him on another level, though, because if you put him in, up against some of the other Marvel characters they've introduced in the movies, like he's going to win every time.
Yeah,
he'll be a fun one.
What's Captain America going to do to him, dude? He's basically a strong dude with a shield in comparison.
Yeah, and Doctor Strange will just drop him on the moon or something. I mean, he'd just be okay. See you later.
He's also super patriotic.
I forgot about the patriotism.
His main challenge I could see coming from Loki. That will be, when if they interact in any way later on down the line in the films, which I assume they will, probably when Infinity War hits. Man, I want to see what the budget is going to be when they do Infinity War. What Civil War was has got to be insane, and Infinity War is just going to be that much crazier when it comes to budget.
If they put everybody that they have in there and that they want to put in there, from what I understand, it's going to be
it's
nuts.
It's got to break
Infinity
records.
War's going to come out before Captain Marvel.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. We're a year and a half from Infinity War.
Right. But we're talking about they've said that maybe they want to put the Netflix people in, Daredevil. But even though they're more street level, I guess you could, I don't know. But you look at Doctor Strange, you look at the Guardians, you look at the Avengers. Like you said, Civil War itself was just, they broke the bank on that one, paying everybody.
I think that was their highest budget, wasn't it?
Yeah. And but then you've got, you've got the Black Panther movie coming out, so he's going to be probably a bigger, have a bigger role in these movies.
He'll definitely be in Infinity War because the Black Panther movie is like 2.5 months before Infinity War.
Right.
Which is crazy to think we're going to. And so February 2018's Black Panther, May 2018's Infinity War, and then July 2018 is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like every 3 months, one year. There's like 3 Marvel movies coming out in the span of like really 5 months.
Yeah. Man, you look at this movie that you said, grab the tombstone. This one's the one that's going to kill it. This one's the one that's going to, do Marvel in. But they can do I say it all the time. They can do no wrong. Marvel can do no wrong because, with this movie, you've got the action, you've got the thought-provoking, parts of it. You've got the spiritual, metaphysical realm that they really haven't tapped into much at all. Just a little bit, like you said, with Thor and Loki and everybody. So he's the one that's opening up a brand new door. Doctor Strange is opening up a brand new door to a different realm that they, the whole different aspect of these Marvel movies can take. Because when you open that up, you're opening up, Mephisto, you're opening up Doctor Doom, you're opening up. You look at real quick. We look at Doctor Strange. Some of his villains, some of his rogues gallery. Dormammu, Baron Mordo, Mephisto, Blackheart.
And they're starting to do a Blackheart storyline in Doctor Strange now. In the ongoing.
In the ongoing scene?
Yeah, and he's completely redesigned and he's super creepy. I agree, man. It's really cool that they're diving into this. And one of the things that I'll be curious about too is whenever they do whatever team up movie is next with all of them, I assume it's Infinity War, or whenever the two of these characters interact, is how if they're gonna be a little bit more true to the Scarlet Witch's character in this cinematic universe, because that's probably been one of the only things I've been kind of disappointed in, is how they've kind of treated that character in this universe so far.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of a total fanboy for any Avengers West Coast alumni. I think I'm a little protective of, but
you definitely love anything to do with them. So,
but I'll be interested to see if maybe they start going to the fact that she's not just a mutant. She controls chaos magic, and it's one of the most strongest forms of magic. And it also ties into the fact that she's kind of mentally insane. And her storylines are just really cool.
Right. Yeah.
It's always been magic based, so I'll be interested to see if they go that route with her.
And also they've got the whole thing where she's not a mutant in the Marvel universe. She's,
as of a year and a half or so now.
Yeah. Well, even in the Marvel Cinematic, she's not a mutant. She's an enhanced.
Dude, the comic book rewriting of that was the laziest thing I've ever read.
Really?
It was literally like a 2 or 3 issue thing. Like it was really no big deal. They're like, it felt like the undertone was we gotta rewrite some characters to not be mutants. What can we do? Let's do this. Okay. Like it was they're basically her and Pietro are basically experiments of the high evolutionary now.
Oh wow.
That's it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really
all right. So Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is of course, he is not the Sorcerer Supreme in this one. He is a student, and he is learning the arts of the ancient, the ancient arts of sorcery and harnessing these powers and everything. So he gets reluctantly he joins the fight against Dormammu, and he is transported into the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Sanctum of New York. Which it looks like it jumps right out of the books. And, he's got the symbol on the skylight. He's got all these ancient weapons, hanging up in the, magical and not magical. He's got all these weapons hanging up all throughout the sanctum. He winds up there, and then that is the next one, to be blown up, because they have blown up the one in Hong Kong, or not Hong Kong, but the one in London. So it is there he discovers, and this is one, he's already found the Eye of Agamotto and everything, but the eye is his most powerful weapon. It's an amulet that looks like an eye, but we'll get into that in a minute. But the one I want to talk about is he finds the cloak of levitation, or cloak of flight, or whatever you want to call it, and it immediately it grabs him, like literally grabs him and clings to him. So in this movie, much like I
remember there's that one spot where the cloak is not letting him move, and he's trying to run across the room, and he's just
to get to a weapon, and it keeps pulling him back, and it keeps pulling him back.
He's just running in place.
Yeah, and then it leads him to the right weapon. So it's a sentient being, his cloak. And we see a little bit of that. Josh, you pointed this out in the source material podcast, where in the Oath, where the cloak, his cloak, is holding the doors open of the hospital as he's going in. And so I never knew that his, it's kind of like Spawn's cape. Or Jesse, what'd you compare it to?
I was using Mark's example.
Mark, yeah.
With the carpet from Aladdin. Magic carpet, yeah.
So it's kind of like that. Now, I never realized, or never caught on, or never knew, or if it's a writer's prerogative to do this. I never realized this cape was sentient throughout the comic books or anything like that. So do you all think that adds to or takes away from the character in the movies of Doctor Strange to have a sentient cape, to as a kind of a comic relief throughout the movie? Because that's honestly what it to me, it was hysterical. I mean, it
was my favorite part of the movie. I'll just go ahead and start here. It was probably the character of the movie. When people come out of that movie, the kids are going to be like, "Oh, it's the cape, the cloak of levitation." Everybody's talking about that thing. I found it as probably one of my favorite parts of that film. So there's my stance on it. Josh?
I don't think it takes anything away from it. I would like to see it go away from being the comic relief and just another piece of everything.
It was a bad. I mean, it was a, excuse the language, it was a badass. I mean, when it grabbed a hold of that one dude and just literally
head off the floor.
It was taking his head and bouncing it off the floor for probably minutes and killed the guy.
Mm-hmm. No, it didn't even kill the guy though, but it gave him what for?
It did. It knocked it. Well, it knocked his
about 90. Gave him what for? What is wrong with me?
knocked his whole astral body out of his. Or unless he did that on purpose, I don't know. But
I think he did that on purpose to chase him down.
So, but I mean, the thing was, I wouldn't mess with it. That's for sure.
So, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I think I'm kind of with Josh to a point. I think they should make it more of a tool of his trade. But then again, he does kind of need not a sidekick, but nothing to really make him. He needs somebody to interact with, to be funny with, because Wong, he is that guy kind of, but not really. Now, the next character that I wanted to point out, I'd mention him, is Wong. Wong is not exactly what I thought he would be. When I saw him in the movie, he doesn't look like his Internet Movie Database picture whatsoever in the movie. So when I saw him, I was like, ugh, that's Wong. It's like, it doesn't look like Wong, from the comic books. Wong is his, he's been described as Doctor Strange's manservant before. But it is his
hetero life mate, man.
His hetero life mate. What did you say, Jesse?
I said I might have described him as that on the source material podcast. Going through an editing process, I referred to him as his faithful assistant probably 5 or 6 times, where I was like, I got to edit that, at least one of those out of there. But Yeah, faithful assistant is what I used apparently.
Faithful. We'll go with faithful assistant.
There you go.
I like that.
That's politically correct.
Yeah, not a manservant. But, so Wong, he meets Wong at the academy, where he's learning his arts of sorcery, and Wong is the librarian. He also practices magic as well, but he's also the protector of all the books of different spells and different things that they can do. He actually says if anybody touches these certain books, the Ancient One's private collection, they'd be dead before they left the library. So he takes his duties pretty seriously. So he as far as a character goes, very much like Wong in the comic books, he takes his duties very, very seriously. Wong is more of the physical to Doctor Strange's metaphysical. Wong is a martial arts master in the comic book. He protects Doctor Strange's physical body when he goes into the astral plane. In this one, he wields magical weapons himself. I think he actually in the movie he has the Wand of Watum, which is one of Doctor Strange's more famous weapons in the book.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of. Doesn't Mordo have something like that's the staff of a Celestial?
Mm-hmm.
I was
they
Whoa.
did mention a Celestial. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, right. So we've got all these different doors being peeked into. You can it's almost like unwrapping that corner of your present to see almost what it is. At Christmas, like when you're a kid, you're like, I really want to know what this is. So you kind of peel the tape back real carefully and you open up one corner of it and you see, what could be a Star Wars.
It's a vehicle.
But you don't know.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, you suspect it, whatever it is, and you put it back. So that's kind of what they did throughout this movie with different aspects of it. So you've got Wong as a character. I couldn't help myself, but I really enjoyed Wong because he was played up for laughs a little bit, but he was very serious. He kind of, despite not being the martial arts master, he was from what I've read, he was dead on to what the books have him being. Very serious about his job. He joins Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York later on. So as a character, what do you all think of Wong, Josh?
I thought it was awesome. I thought it worked real well. He's a little bit bigger than you typically see Wong in the books, but Wong provides. He isn't the comic relief, but he's kind of like a plot device for comic relief a lot of times. But I thought he did really well. I thought it was really cool. I think the funniest part of the whole movie was him jamming to Beyonce.
Yeah.
Because at one point, Strange is like trying to figure out what he's calling something, or no, like what he's like. He's like, what's your name? Wong, and he's like, just Wong, like Adele.
Yeah,
and like no smile from Wong, no nothing. He's like Eminem or Beyonce. He's like, come on, man, everybody knows Beyonce, and he's just like stone faced the whole time. And then like 2 scenes later, like he's sitting there reading in the library, listening to Beyonce.
It was so good. So I think they nailed Wong. I think the actor that plays him did it very well. And overall, man, each character played their scene. Oh my gosh, played their character, played their scenes to what I think. They've held faithful to the characters in the comic book. So the climax of the whole movie is you get to see Doctor Strange use the Eye of Agamotto, which is kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? They don't let anybody use it. It is for the Sorcerer
kind of
Supreme
forbidden.
to use. Forbidden, thank you. It is a forbidden weapon. It's a forbidden trinket. You're not supposed to wear it. You're not supposed to use it, mainly because you can control time with it. And that is something that the sorcerers do not mess with because it is messing with the physical
I totally
world.
saw where they were going with it whenever they mentioned Tom, though. I was like, that's one of the, 5 or 6.
Snap. We find out that the Eye of Agamotto is actually the time gem.
Yes. You know what it reminded me of? Now, this might be a deep reference for you guys. I don't know. But you guys, if I said the words Omega-13, would you guys know what I'm talking about? The internet will.
To the internet.
You're talking about fish oil, right?
No, not.
Oh, Adam.
not your vitamins and minerals. The Omega-13 from Galaxy Quest.
Never seen it.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wasn't it called the Omega-13?
Is that movie supposed to be wretched?
No, it is
really good.
Classic. It is a classic. If you're a Star Trek fan, just by chance, or you know anything about Star Trek, it's a great movie.
It's definitely something else. What was the movie that crazy Scientologist that's not Tom Cruise but doesn't have hair?
Hubbard?
No, like
John
one of
Travolta.
That's Battlefield.
There we go.
Battlefield Earth, yeah.
Oh no, okay, yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking.
Well,
never mind.
The Omega-13.
Scientologist is not Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Tom
I had a
Cruise
whole
is-
other list of items that would have narrowed it down too. I was going with has no hair but is actually gay. I was just going through some stuff. I was going to get there.
We eventually got it if we hadn't got it the first go round.
Yeah, quick too. Good job, everybody.
Battlefield Earth is an absolute wretched piece of crap.
Never saw it, thank goodness.
Never seen that either.
You're better off not seeing it.
Well, the Omega-13 was a device in Galaxy Quest where you basically push a button and it rewinds time 13 seconds. So this is, that's kind of that is almost immediately what I tweeted out when I first saw this movie. I was like, no, that is going to be giving it away to a lot of people. Apparently what it gave it away to you guys, but that's what it reminded me of, because this thing was, you guys saw my post where it was like, holy Eye of Agamotto. Yeah. That blew me away. And the special effects. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that because I want to be open and honest with our listeners and you guys. But I was a friend of the internet allowed me to watch this movie a little bit early. Okay. He was nice enough to.
What do you mean?
He was nice enough to go to Mexico and actually find a copy. So it just wasn't that great of quality. However, the special effects, even through that horrible quality of film that I watched, were awesome. I mean, just watching it in action, I was like, oh, it's so great. Because, at one point, what was his name? Caecilius comes at him and jumps at him, and he just almost pauses him in midair. I was like, this is going to be good, because everything's practically destroyed. Where are they at? Hong Kong?
Hong Kong.
Man,
Dormammu was on his way over.
Such a great climax to this movie.
So we see it. I didn't catch on to the time gem at all with Io.
Me either. Not until the end.
Yeah, and so when he was using Agamotto and he opened up and he found the spell book, and he's sitting there eating an apple, and he takes it and he kind of makes a dial with his hand when he's using it, and he dials back and forth the apple of different stages of being eaten and being whole. I was really, really, really interested in where they're going, but I did not pick up on that in the least. So I was like, man, this is going to be cool. This is going to definitely come into play later. So when they go to Hong Kong and the Sanctum has been blown up and Dormammu's on his way through, and we see that all hell's breaking loose in the streets of Hong Kong. I was like, well, this is where it comes to play. And he pulls it out, and as you said, Caecilius runs at him and he freezes him, and he starts twisting the dial. Is the best way I can describe it. So when he gets everything going, and it's all running backwards, and all the explosions are going back in, and people are going. The one that caught me was the lady, the car wreck, She's laying there, and she gets up and she flies back into her windshield, and her car goes away from the pole.
Great effects.
Oh, and it was so gruesome, but in reverse.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, whoa.
Exactly. That's what I did. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So, and that's how they as sorcerers, as all this is going on and as it's happening, they can take themselves outside of this dimension, and they have their big fight scene. Wong and Mordo and Strange versus Caecilius and his acolytes. They have their fight scene, which the other thing I was going to mention, they each have their own weapons, and they can create mystical weapons from the wand or from their staff or whatever they have. Most of the time, the bad guys are using these almost like spears or swords where they're shards. They look like shards of glass, but you can see, they're transparent. And the others are using, whips or staffs or, anything else that are of yellow energy. So I thought that was kind of cool because it gave it a physical aspect, but also a magical. It was a magical weapon. You could definitely tell, but it gave to the physicality that you expect from a superhero movie. So he turns back time. Of course, the good guys win, and it takes it back to what's next for Doctor Strange. He's not yet a Sorcerer Supreme, so he puts back the Eye of Agamotto back on its stand. And it's like, you can't use it yet. You're not a it's only for those who are the Eye has chosen you. But you have to learn a little more before you can actually use it. It's like, all right, I get it. So he puts it back. And he said, yeah, and one does not actually, it takes a lot of practice to learn how to wield the time gem. And I was like, time gem? That makes so much sense.
Yeah,
so,
I guess as soon as they mentioned that it controls time, I was like, okay. Because every movie leading up to Infinity War is introduced a gem.
Have we?
So I was like, well, that's it. That's the
what's left. Anybody have any idea as to what gems are left?
So what the ones we've seen have been the power.
Reality was Galaxy, right?
Yeah, that was the
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I'll look them up. You guys go ahead and keep talking. I'll look them up and get back with you.
Okay, I was going to say the gems that we've seen in Marvel. The Marvel movies. Oh gosh, it was time for one of them.
Yeah.
So we've got. You look them up.
You keep talking.
I'm. It's dead air right now. That's incredible.
They'll have introduced all of them except for one more. If they're going to do this right, they'll introduce the last one in Infinity War, and it'll be in the forehead of Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We got. What's the one Vision has in his head?
Soul?
Is it Soul?
That would make the most sense.
Yeah, I think it is.
I gave him life. I mean, that would make sense.
So it didn't come out. It definitely didn't come out of Loki's staff, did it?
Yeah, that's the one that came out of his staff. Because remember, like they
they broke it. And,
okay.
Mind gem. Gem, yeah.
All right, so Loki's staff has the Mind Stone, and then we have just keep talking.
The red one was in the red one was in Thor. The purple one was in Guardians. The blue one was in the Avengers. Then you have in Captain America, and then you have Time. So there's 5. There's 4 right there. So I'm not sure what else.
There's a total of 6.
Yeah,
they did that. Tesseract was the space gem.
Okay.
The Ether was the reality gem.
Okay.
The orb was the power gem. I'm sorry, I'm
that's
reading
the purple
as a
one.
List, but it's not
that's
really
right.
telling me what they came from in the movie.
Tesseract was Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
The Ether was Thor, the Dark World. The purple one that was Guardians.
Yeah, that's power. The orb was the power, and then the Mind Stone
was Vision. So that was
that was the one they stole from the Tesseract, though, wasn't it?
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know. So
I ask questions. We don't get answers. Here it is.
Great podcasting right here.
Here we go. All right. We have each Infinity Stone has a different power. The stones are as follows: Space Stone, contained within the Tesseract; Power Stone, contained within the Orb; Reality Stone, which is the Ether; Mind Stone, contained within the Chitauri Scepter, and later Vision's forehead. To be announced, Time Stone, already got it. So we got one more left, which is the Soul Stone, and that's probably going to be Adam Warlock.
Yeah, it's got to be Warlock.
Okay.
Or however they introduce it. I mean, it would make sense to do the last one at the beginning of Infinity War and then just catapult into it.
Right.
Marvel Movies Wikia, folks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Marvel Movies Wiki. But so the Tesseract and the Mind Stone were two different things. The Tesseract was not in Loki's staff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was messing up. So we find that Stephen Strange, not yet Sorcerer Supreme, but he is learning. He has gotten over his douchebaggery for the most part. He learns that it's not all about him, and he goes on to fight the good fight and help save the world from evil forces. So we have our ending right there. So we have a lot of differing, not a lot, but we have some differing opinions. Everyone that I've talked to, and I went to see this with a couple of friends, both of them definitely comic book fans. They've seen all of the Marvel movies. And they both loved this movie. They did not find anything wrong with it. They thought it was great. We don't find really anything wrong with it. There's nothing that really I would change. I dare say that about you guys as well. But we do have some. We have some guys, some movie critics out there saying that this movie is holds a little too much to the Marvel formula. Being it is, the good guy discovers who he is, fights the bad guy, and the end. So my question is to you guys: do you think that there is some sort of formula that that they are following, and does that do you think that they followed that following this formula, as they say, it took anything away from Doctor Strange and made it, lessened what they did with it at all? And do you think this is the downfall of the Marvel universe, as Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I'll just go ahead and tell you, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in my opinion. I mean, I don't think it gets old. I didn't recognize it until I hopped on the internet and somebody pointed it out to me. So you got to start somewhere. Oh, hey, Marvel formula, what are they going to do? Just not tell an origin of the character that the movie's about, the first movie's about? It's got to happen. They've got to tell the story. So I don't know if maybe I'm just desensitized to it for some reason. I have no idea, but it's not anything that bothers me. It's not going to be the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as they've went ahead and shown over and over again that these movies are making money. I don't know. I don't see it.
Josh? As your chair
I wasn't. Yeah, that's my classic recurring chair noise. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. Like I'd never sat and thought about the overall plot structure of the movies. Maybe that's because I'm not as big of a movie nerd in that regard. I don't really care about stuff like that. I mean, I go to the movies to go watch a movie and have a good time and literally lose myself. Like I'm the guy that, like if I'm watching a TV at home, like I turn all the lights out, and if my dogs make some noise, I'm pissed off because it's pulled me out of the moment. Like I completely zone out on them. And I don't really analyze the cast and the plot structure and this and that and the other thing. I go to have fun, and
Right.
especially being a comic book nerd, I feel like we're probably a little bit more biased to it too. Like, even if there is a formula, dude, if it works and they're staying true to the source material and they're good stories, dude, rock that formula all day long as far as I'm concerned, because these stories are long overdue for the movie screens, and we're finally at a point where the effects can match up to the ridiculousness that the books can portray. And so, long story short, no, the formula doesn't take anything away from me. I'm in the same boat as Jesse. Like, for these first movies of the characters, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to not tell the plot, or the origin story, or are you going to focus the entire movie on the origin story and have no conflict? That doesn't make any sense either. So, I don't know what the alternative would be. But again, I'm no film student.
I agree, but I don't think you have to be a film student to see that there is a formula to this, but let me put it this way: if you have a good recipe for something that you absolutely love, if you have a recipe for chicken parmesan, and you know that everybody loves this recipe, everybody loves this dish that you're going to make, and you win over everybody, you make it every time somebody, you have company, because they request it every time that they come over.
And people talk about it. Hey, have you ever tried so-and-so's
chicken parmesan?
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever tried it? I mean, it's amazing. You have to try this. This is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. You're not going to mess with that recipe. You're not going to change it. You may add something a little bit, to it every once in a while, to quote unquote improve on it, or try something different, or make it, taste just a little different, or, maybe I should add a little more oregano this time. Maybe I should add a little more salt this time. Just, to go with the crowd that you're serving at that moment. You're not going to change that. You're not going to change the core recipe of that. You're going to fix it exactly the same every single time.
And I don't see how they are going to, when Infinity War hits, there's not going to be any type of a formula there that represents or reflects anything that we've already seen in these origin stories.
Right.
They've got to take these characters that are now established and come up with a good story. Now, if you were just talking basic storytelling, which is, okay, good guys fight the big bad and the good guys win. Well, okay, that's pretty much every freaking story you're usually going to get. And if you're expecting any kind of dark, twisty turn with a Marvel / Disney movie, usually it's not going to happen. I'm trying to find the article. I'll chime back in here, but I read the article about the formula that they were talking about, that each one of these movies is shown. And I can remember going, okay, I can see that. But again, what are they going to do? Why would they want to change it? If it's working, it's working. I certainly didn't feel like they didn't put their whole heart into Doctor Strange. It's freaking Doctor Strange.
Right.
You better be counting your blessings if you're a fan of Doctor Strange. We have a movie about Doctor Strange that's good, because it was atypical in my opinion.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. People are
they are.
Yeah. It's just,
that's so accurate. People.
No, I mean, people want too much anymore. I mean, why would you change it? It's working. They've made billions of dollars on this.
I also think that, like, with social media and the prominence of the internet, like, you're never going to make everybody happy, and the people that you aren't going to make happy are just loud about it now.
Yeah. And who's not happy about these movies?
Yeah,
Who is not happy about
I don't understand. I have one friend on my Facebook that hasn't liked the Marvel movies and thought Suicide Squad was like the best comic book movie ever.
Wow.
And I mean, I mean, to each their own. I mean, I cannot fathom what that means or where that's coming from. But,
right.
I mean, that's fine though.
I mean, I get it. You like what you like, and I'm not here to change that. I'm not here to, I like Suicide Squad. Was it better than any of the Marvel movies, in my opinion? Absolutely not. That's just, to me, that's ridiculousness. But it had a lot of things that it could definitely improve on. I like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think he does a good job. But the formula that they have is working. And the formula they have, if you want to call it that, is something that we fans of these characters and these stories and these books have been looking for so long. If you all didn't realize it, there was a Doctor Strange movie already. And nobody really knows that because it was made in 1978 and it was a made-for-TV movie. And it was awful.
Yeah,
awful.
I'm sure it was.
So you don't. It's something that people are just looking. People are just looking for something to complain about these movies.
The thing, as far as I'm concerned, like, as long as you're modernizing the origin and keeping as true as possible to the source material, I think that's the primary point, because otherwise you're just taking character names and plugging them into something that's completely irrelevant, just like the new Star Wars movies. Boom! Oh, I meant Star Trek. Oh,
Star Trek. Oh,
I really screwed that up.
Got kicked off the show.
Yeah, I know, but I really had a good point there too. There,
you did. Man. I would have said the new Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, and but that's the exact same thing though. Like that wasn't even the Fantastic Four. Those were characters with the same names and same powers, with none of the personalities, and it was completely relevant to the source material.
Right. It
was awful.
It was
like
terrible.
Nobody liked it. Yet nobody liked it.
No.
So there's your antithesis to why do they keep using the formula? Because it works and it's awesome, and Marvel is serious about the source material. Like the creative team is legit about the source material. That's all I care about in these movies, is as long as it stays true to the source material and they modernize it to a degree.
Right. If you don't stay with the source material, you end up with, like we've said, you end up with stuff like the Fantastic Four reboot. You end up with I still like them to this day, but you end up with stuff like the first 3 Spider-Man movies. They didn't stick with the source material that much. You end up with stuff like the first Fantastic Four movies. You end up with stuff like the third X-Men, which was completely erased later on. Thank goodness, with Days of Future Past. So you end up with mistakes, and Josh Calanders, you have given me a new phrase, and I thank you for that. You end up with giant tire fires of movies. Like the third X-Men. It was a terrible movie. And they said, we have to fix this. We have to fix it. And they went back and they erased it, with Days of Future Past. I don't know if that's what was in their mind, but that's what I like to think they were thinking. They realized that they made a mistake with this, and they had to go back.
Probably my favorite part of Days of Future Past, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like that movie too. Like, I like that movie, and I was like, you know what, my favorite part? Like, whatever that third one, Last Stand didn't happen now.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Didn't happen. It's awesome.
Retconned. There's so much to enjoy with these movies. There's so much to enjoy with Doctor Strange. Why do you have to crap on it and blame everything on say, oh, well, it's too formulaic. You can't have that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because it was awesome. So that's my rant. Everybody, if you find that it's too formulaic, you're wrong, and you need to rethink your life.
One random thing that, as we were talking, I was kind of googling roundabout. There was apparently a Captain Marvel Easter egg in this movie.
Really? Tell me.
Yeah, and as he was driving right before his wreck, he's talking. He's going through all the different patients that would be his next, big salvation, get him all his press and his money and his attention. And the one that he perks up at one point. He said the patient in question is a woman in her 20s who was struck by lightning. And it doesn't really sound too interesting at first, but Strange apparently perks up when he hears that the injury was complicated by the fact that she had an electronic implant in her brain to help quell her schizophrenia. And so they're going to take understandable liberties with this Captain Marvel movie, because that whole Captain Marvel dude, the origin story is way too elaborate for what the cinematic universe has built with Captain Marvel and the Kree and the Skrull Wars and all that garbage. That's apparently a hint at her, because they've apparently interviewed somebody close to the Captain Marvel movie and say, is that a reference to Captain Marvel? And he said that I'll never tell. So,
well, there's one other Easter egg I was going to mention. I'm glad you brought that up, because I did not catch that. Was one of my absolute favorite Marvel books was actually referenced in this movie as well. And if you're watching the movie, you get to see what is her first name? But she's one of the sorcerers that is being trained there, and she has this big old staff, and she is being trained in the magic arts, and her name is Tina Minoru, I think is how you say it. And,
oh gosh, I missed that completely.
Yeah, and she is holding the staff of one, and she is Nico's mother, who is known as formerly known as Sister Grimm of the Runaways. Not the Runaways, which is a rock group, but Runaways. Runaways is one of my favorite books ever in the Marvel universe, or in Marvel Comics. It is just an incredible book. I mean, it's the storyline. Brian K. Vaughan was in on it and everything. So I do love that book, and to find out that Nico's mother was mentioned in this means that we're one step closer to a Runaways TV series on Hulu.
Nice.
So she is, mentioned in these movies. She, so that is to me, that's incredible.
Yeah, she's probably my favorite character in Runaways.
Oh man, she's amazing. She's the one. She and Chase are the two that are great in my opinion, because Chase has a lot of depth to his character that you don't realize. So he's the one with the who flies the giant frog.
yeah, and then there's like their crud. What's the robot dude that comes from the future, and he was
Victor Mancha.
Victor Lamont. Yeah, so he's actually got a key piece in that Vision storyline, that current Vision book, because Vision, every single one of these we do, dude, all I do is gush about the Vision, so I'm sorry.
That's all right. But, no, it's good. It's good.
There's this really cool piece where, so in the Vision, he's created a family so he can feel more normal, which is a running theme with Vision, always has been. And he creates his own cyborg family. So halfway through the book, maybe the last third of the book, he shows up because Vision has invited him to meet his family, because Victor's technically his cousin, or his brother, really. Mm-hmm. Because Ultron created Victor also. Right. So they're brothers, basically. So Vision's kids are kind of his nieces and nephews. That's the way they build it all. And come to find out, like, that the Avengers have sent Victor there to spy on him, make sure that he's not going
It's
crazy
sick.
some way. Yeah, because they're like, so Vision is creating more visions. And we've all had different run-ins with Vision in the past that did not go well, and now there are 4 of him. And so they send Victor in, and like I won't ruin it because you all will read that book at some point. But it's a really big storyline, and it's a really big change for one of the characters. But anyway,
Cool.
Wow.
So yeah,
completely unrelated to the thing we're talking about.
No. That's okay because she and Sister Grimm and Victor are the last 2 that are really, really active in the Marvel universe. The last 2 of the Runaways that have anything to do with any of the major comic books that are going on right now. Because Sister Grimm is a part of A-Force. And Victor is, I can't remember what Victor's doing now, but he is definitely on the Avengers. So
who's that?
Victor?
Yeah, I won't give it away.
Okay. So, ooh, I got to read that now. But yeah, Doctor Strange, incredible movie. It's one of the best Marvel movies to date, in my opinion. Totally blew me away. Didn't know what to expect other than Marvel is Marvel, and they're amazing. Marvel Studios got a new Marvel Studios logo at the beginning, so that was really cool.
I saw that.
So if you have not seen it, sorry we ruined it for you, but you need to go see it because we really haven't ruined anything for you. You have to see this on the big screen. If you've seen it, go see it again because it deserves your money. And with that, I'm going to say, did you all have anything extra to add, Josh?
No, I think we covered a good amount of it without giving any spoilers about the ending and the post mid. There's, and this is no spoiler, but stick around. Like it's a Marvel movie, so there's obviously stuff during the credits, but there's a mid credit scene and there's also a post credit scene. So there's 2 fun things going on at the end.
We're not going to give those away. We'll leave that one up we'll leave those 2 up in the air. Jesse, have anything you want to add?
Nah, man, go out and see it. I absolutely 100% believe that this is another knock out of the park.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Adam, do you have anything to add?
Adam's still here.
Yeah, man. I'm just listening to you guys.
You guys quiet talk, this time around.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I mean, like I was telling Ronnie, I kind of skimmed through it like you. Like I like you, Jesse, got to see it.
I like you too.
I know, right? Like you, Jesse. That's where grammar comes in. But I got to see it in the glorious Mexico Vision.
Mexican theater.
You got to see it.
2 frames per second.
But I got to see it in that, and it was, I kind of skimmed through it because, on a side note, Jesse, how was your Halloween?
It was okay. We still got a bunch of candy around here, and that makes me upset. But Pap-All Starch is okay.
We have no more candy, and it's awesome. And I found something.
Did you consume it yourself, or have you let the kids handle it?
No, they got a piece a day until they forgot about it, and then I threw away the rest of it.
I've done that before. That's brilliant.
Like, I don't need this.
That's brutal.
Kids don't need this. I'm done. But
think I'm asking about it.
I found something that's worse than Halloween, and it's other kids' birthday parties.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I take that back. No. It's other kids' birthday parties that are at a skating rink. Because all I was doing is dragging my kid around on his back.
It just sounds like inevitable health insurance deductible impacts to me. Like,
no, I mean it was awful. If you ever get invited to a skating party, just be like, my kid's going to be in the hospital that day.
Yeah, we're planning a major surgery. The whole day.
Yeah,
John,
wrong. We don't know yet.
He fell down. Quick, push the kid down.
What's that scene in Family Guy where Meg asked that guy out to the prom? He's like, I'm going to be in the hospital, and he takes a staple gun and he shoots it into his stomach.
No, he takes a nail gun, sir, and he shoots himself 3 times in the stomach.
He's like, I'm going to be in the hospital.
In the hospital. Like, she goes, hey, you want to go to prom? And he goes, and he walks off, and you hear, pop, pop, pop. And he goes back with 3 nails in his stomach. He goes, I'm sorry, I'm going to be in the hospital.
Yeah. I just
Shut
enjoyed
up, Meg.
you guys
Meg.
talk about the movie, because from what I've seen enough to follow what's going on and all that stuff. But to hear you guys know way more about the Marvel universe than I do. So it's really kind of cool to hear the backstory of the backstory. So I'm just listening, man. I'm taking it all in. I like it. I love it.
The one other thing that I mentioned beforehand, I don't mean to, I like the fact that they made Doctor Strange's scars on his hands a focal point of the movie. They really drew attention to that because in the Oath that we read and we discussed on source material, they made the scars on his hands kind of a focal point of a couple of frames of of that book. So you really see that his hands are destroyed.
Not as many. I wouldn't say as lengthy as digits. That's for sure. It's not like they added 5 knuckles like they did in the book.
Man, gosh, those fingers were terrifying. Those were like
get a better artist to draw some fingers.
Slender Man fingers, man.
Explain to me what the Oath is, because I'm not familiar with this.
The Oath is one of the best Doctor Strange stories out there, and is one of the best stories I've read in a while too.
Brian K. Vaughan.
Brian K. Vaughan.
Oh, so I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually it has a multifaceted meaning, which it also goes into the Hippocratic Oath as well.
Cool.
It's a good book. You can check it out on the Rattledge Broadcasting Network.
We're back.
So since we're done talking about the movie, we can talk about the election now, right? Everybody's talking about
and we want you all to have a wonderful night and join us next week as we talk about something other than the election, because it'll be over at that point.
And make sure you guys tune into the season finale of America tomorrow night.
Seems like everybody's ready for it.
I don't know.
I just want my Facebook go back to people sharing cat pictures and food.
Yeah. I'll just say this about the election. I cannot wait for this freaking election to be over. It's so stupid.
Dude.
You know,
it's the worst.
Like my and I don't care who you vote for. I mean, I'm friends with people on both sides, but I work in data aggregation for news stations, and we do nothing but elections. And if I ever hear Donald Trump's name again, I want to punch myself in the face every time I hear that guy's name.
Dude, I didn't watch. I watched the first part of the first debate. I didn't watch the other 2 or 3 or however many there were. Anytime Trump is mentioned anywhere, I immediately change. I'm done, dude. Like it's too much.
Are you?
We're not. No.
Well, okay. End it, and then I'll ask. Then I'll ask Josh. We'll talk
Josh,
about it.
Tell us what's going on in your life and where we can find you.
Well, it's this is the point where I usually tell you that it's college football season, and I'm talking about Marshall football, but it's going really bad. It's really bad right now, and this is the worst team. I did the math on it. This is the worst team we've had since 1980.
Wow. I like that you crunched the numbers on this.
Why wouldn't he?
You can't compare. Like you can't really fairly compare. But like record wise versus our schedule, this is the worst team we've had since '81, I think. Wow. So every Saturday I watch the first half of a Marshall game until I'm too disgusted to watch anymore. And I'm just tweeting about college football, and then soon it'll transition over to just Chicago Blackhawks season and sports. And I can't watch NFL, but I'm usually just doing stupid stuff on Twitter. I'm not doing anything significant or fun or consistent in theme or topic. So
if you've not, that's what makes your Twitter the best.
Yeah, so that's my perfect sell. If that interests you, I'm at Red Parallax.
Nice.
I look forward to adding no followers tomorrow.
Jesse, hit us up, buddy.
All right. Source material, that is the name of the podcast that me and Ronnie usually handle over there on the Rattledge Broadcasting Network, where we talk about some of the great and not so great story arcs out there in the comic book genre. The one that dropped tonight was The Oath. Doctor Strange, The Oath, dropped over there. Yeah, yes, exactly right. And it was a fun story. I had Josh, had Ronnie. We also talked with the patriarch, Mark Rattledge, on there. We had a good time discussing that story. Also, I want to go ahead and give a plug to my buddies over there at the Kapow podcast. Cliff Barnes. Yes, Seth Offenberger, my buddy Michael K. Easton, and Jordan Lowe, and his brother Jared. We all took 52 modern Marvel and DC movies and ranked them, and Jared did the math, all 6 of us, and then did an average. So what we did is we went 52-1 and had a 2.5-hour podcast on it. So that dropped this today as well. So if you get a chance, go check them out there. I believe they're on Podbean. You can find them on iTunes as well. The Kapow podcast. So that check that out. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Stiznarkey on Twitter. I also do a Twitter for the Source Material podcast, which is at SourceMacCast. Also, if you want to check out YouTube, right here on YouTube, there is a Source Material. Just type in hashtag Source Material, all one word, into YouTube. You'll find the channel. We also have The Oath on there, where I was able to bring up some visuals of the comic book as we read along. And that spectacular final page that we all had a fun time discussing. So, but anyway, yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
So you had three podcasts come out today,
dude.
Yeah, he hit the triple play.
My God.
It is a milestone. As I said, it is a milestone today to have 3 podcasts drop that I am on. So it's a lot of I don't think I'll ever. I don't intend to eclipse that anytime soon. But
King of content.
There you go. There you go.
All right, you Adam, go for it.
You can find me at Adam is a Nerd on Twitter. You can go to our website at screamingboy.com and www.screamingboy.com and find out all the latest news that we can offer and throw in your face with some consistency.
Let's talk about the consistency thing later. But yes, you can find us on just about everywhere. Any form of social media, we're on it. Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast. Twitter, at Screaming Boy PR. You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Screaming Boy Podcast. I think we even have a Google Plus page, but nobody ever really goes to Google Plus. So, yeah, I remember that was the big thing back in the day. You had to get invited onto it, but now nobody.
What you ought to do is you ought to take your Google Plus page and just fancy it up with like 1994 internet pictures and graphics. As a joke. That'd be pretty funny. Like you could have a Netscape logo.
Idea. Oh,
yeah, Alta Vista logo.
Earthlink. I actually
powered
got
by
on
Angel
my
Fire.
I got on my Google Plus account right before this show, and I just happened to click on it accidentally. And the very, very first and only thing that I tweeted on that said, "I'm on Google Plus. Where my peeps at?" And nobody answered.
How apt!
Yeah,
I know. And I want to go back and be like, "Yo, still waiting."
Anybody? Nothing. Hello?
Nothing at
Nobody?
all.
Okay.
Good deal.
Fair enough.
And you can find, like you said, www.screamboy.com. Find us right here on YouTube, which we are live on right now. And that's pretty much it. So last week, what did we do last week? Last week was Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
We had our Halloween episode that we absolutely rocked out of the park, and we didn't actually do it that night. I'm sorry, that's such a lie, because I'm a big Halloween nerd, and I was looking forward. I just bought a house this year, and this was my first time handing out candy for trick or treat, and I was like all pumped about it. So
did you get I'm
a dork. Yeah, I handed out a lot of candy, and the last 2 kids of the night actually were the lucky ones, because as I was packing up, I realized I still had probably about a good deal of candy left, not like a half a bowl or anything. It was more than 2 kids should have gotten. And
you're their hero.
Yeah, I know.
Made some angry neighbor parents at least. So.
Yeah.
Two cute little kids, probably about 3 and 5. One of them was on his dad's shoulders and everything. And they came out and said, "Yeah, we're running a little late tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, I was getting ready to pack up because I had a table sitting up outside. I was dressed as a zombie killer or whatever. It's last minute costume."
You were Negan, weren't you?
No, I couldn't find a Negan bat. They sold out of them at Spirit Halloween. So I had this giant foam wrench. And a Tyrese hammer,
Cool.
foam hammer with blood all over it. So as they were coming around, they tweet or tweet, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are awesome." So I handed them 2 giant handfuls of candy into their little buckets, and then I was like, "You know what?" And I just handed them 2 more giant handfuls. I say giant, to them it was giant. So I handed them 2 more handfuls of candy, and pretty much just poured the rest of it in their buckets. And, just they had their typical Halloween, trick-or-treat buckets. And the smallest one, the youngest one, said, "Dad, he almost filled mine up." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And I was like, "Sorry, dude."
We'll thank you later,
kids,
son.
Those kids will never be on your lawn.
But it was a fun night. But we had our Halloween episode before that. It was a lot of fun talking about, different Halloween traditions and movies, and then we talked about the Walking Dead season premiere, which absolutely was the most heart-wrenching, gut-tearing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Josh, I really wish you could have made it on for that one when we talked about that, man.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
That was incredible.
I can't. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I wasn't able to get on that one, but I also don't. I don't really have any Halloween traditions. Like I didn't have anything. Like I don't get a chance to do a lot of cool Halloween stuff.
I until this year, I didn't really have a chance to do anything with my house or anything, but I decorated my yard and all that.
I didn't mention this on the last cast, but I went to OU for 4 years, and they have an unbelievable Halloween party. Never went to it once.
Really?
I went there 4 years and never actually participated in any way, shape, or form. I either went back home, not because I was avoiding it, but I was either back home for some reason or just I don't ever remember being up there during it at all. So their Halloween party is infamous.
That's supposed to be like one of the biggest
Yes.
Halloween citywide parties in the country.
Yeah. I was never there. It's weird.
Marshall had one. Marshall used to have a block party, but I never went because it was like a gigantic roundup for underage drinking. Like they just went in there and they literally just went. It was like fish and a goldfish.
Yeah, dude, that's a no-brainer.
I
never went. I never went because I was just like, meh.
Yeah.
Well, be sure to check out our Halloween episode and check out our, all the episodes that we've done in the past here. It's been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep going. So tune in next time, and we're going to have something awesome for you. I'm sure of it. I don't know what it is yet because I can't think right now. But you guys, everybody, sandwiches. We'll have sandwiches if you show up. Don't come to my house. So you guys have a wonderful night. We appreciate you, and we are out. And with that, I will do this.
Oh my God!
We're on an easy street, and it feels so sweet. 'Cause the world is but a treat, and you're on easy street.
My hip hop will block the shot.